Welcome to West Hills Unitarian Universalist Fellowship. I am the Reverend Tracy Springberry, and it is my very great pleasure to serve this very musical congregation. I want to say welcome to everybody online and downstairs and in Forest Hall. Everybody is welcome here, no matter where you are. You're welcome here no matter who you love, how you express your gender, what your immigration status is. You're welcome no matter how you're feeling today. If it's a hard, challenging day, or if you are light with happiness and joy, or some combination. So after the service, we have coffee hour downstairs, always some delicious treats and good coffee, and online you can join the link in your order of service to join people on Zoom for conversation. And I want to make two announcements. One is after the service, there's a family orientation. So if you are a person who is raising children at this time, because we're all families usually, is raising children at this time, there's going to be a RE orientation and discussion, and there is lunch. So if you didn't plan, you can still come, and there'll be childcare and lunch. So now, if you're new, I especially want to welcome you. And there is a little piece of paper in the back of your seats that you can fill out to get our e-blast. So much of our congregational life does not happen here on Sunday mornings, but during the week with a lot of small groups and other activities. And I want to say one more thing was we were so delighted to get, for the Welcoming People survey, almost half the people in the congregation answered it. So that was some kind of miracle. And there's going to be another survey. There's 3 surveys, everybody, so be as enthusiastic about this one, because this is actually, if we were able to expand our spaces, what would we want that to look like? And so that's pretty exciting to think about. And I just want to tell you a couple findings from our survey, which was, mostly people wanted to be in the sanctuary, except for some very committed people who wanted to be in the coffee room and in Forest Hall and online. So that was one of our big findings. Another interesting finding was if we do decide that going to 2 services is the right thing for us, about half the people wanted to go to a 9 o'clock service and about half to 11 o'clock service, which was also really interesting and sort of hopeful. So now we will have greeting each other. And our question for the day is, what do you love best about spring? And try to talk to somebody you don't know. Thank you. So I'd like to invite Rose up to light our chalice. So let us light this chalice, the symbol of our faith, for our beloved ancestors, our community, and all that our coming together makes possible. Let us say our affirmation. Let us open our eyes to see what is beautiful and what is wondrous. Let us open our minds to learn what is true and what is mysterious. Let us open our hearts to love ourselves and our neighbors.
Good morning. I'm Ashley Ulmer. I'm your lay leader this morning. Honored to be with you. Love this beautiful new art installation that we are looking at here, these beautiful colors. I'd like to open this morning with a call to presence by Reverend Bob Janice Dillon. Here within these walls, here in this community of love and justice, we pause in our busy lives to consider what is worthy of our deepest yearnings. In the time we are given here, may we pay attention to wonder of each moment. May we grieve what is lost, and may we be grateful for our life on this beautiful earth. And may we prepare ourselves for the work love calls us to do. Just as we are, may we be the beloved community. When I have this honor of being your lay leader, I have moments during the service where I can reflect, and in doing so today, as we share gratitude and giving, I remember I've been coming to WIF for 9 years, and early on met Virginia and Larry, and I have 2 kiddos. They were probably 7 and 10 at the time, and they have their granddaughter Rosie, who comes to visit in the summers from Alaska. And one day we got together at their house and had a big plan for water balloons and running around in the sun. They had a bouncy house to occupy the kids. And at the end, we all knew we were going to be making ice cream. And so out comes Larry with the family heirloom ice cream churner, the wood, and we're pouring in the cream and the sugar, and the kids are taking turns getting a sore arm. And it just reminded me of WIF in general, that we come together and we churn out some really delicious ice cream. And we do it together, and we do it, and sometimes it's hard, and sometimes it's easy, and sometimes it's fun, and sometimes it's hard work. So I just wanted to give thanks for that today, as we've just finished our pledge drive and the stewardship work that's been done, and just give thanks as we receive our offering. Now together we affirm, let us be grateful when we are able to give, for many do not have that privilege. And let us be grateful for all those who share their gifts with us, for we are enriched by their giving. And let us be grateful even for our needs, so that we may learn from the generosity of others.
Hello, it's time for all ages, and if there's any kids, we do have a little bit of space up here in the front if you'd like to sit. Our story this morning is called Breaking News, and it's written and illustrated by Sarah Lynn Roll. I remember when we heard the bad news. Suddenly, Mom is glued to the television, and Dad can't stop checking his phone. They whisper, and I pretend not to hear. It is more than a little scary. Mom forgets to tuck me in, and Dad is too tired for bedtime stories. It seems like everyone else feels it too. At school, my teacher says to look for the helpers. Even when the news is bad, you can still find good people trying to make things better in big and small ways. I want to help in a big way. I decide to put on the funniest show ever to make everyone laugh again. But the grown-ups don't feel like laughing. I tell them about the force fields I'll invent to keep us safe. But their smiles are tiny and sad. I try to be on my best behavior all the time, to be so good, but they hardly even notice. I think maybe there is nothing I can do to help in a big way. I feel small. So maybe I can try to do just one small thing. And maybe another. And another. And one more. Small things don't solve everything. The bad news is still there after all. But then again, so are we. We can now sing our children to their classes. It is now time for joys and sorrows. And this is when we remember that there can be so much joy in our life, like those daffodils that have just pushed out of the cold ground and have bloomed yellow, and the buds on the trees, and the music and the joy of being together, and that we hold all of that joy together and make it expand. And we also remember that life is full of a lot of suffering. There is death, there is loss, there is illness, there is war. And then we remember that when we hold all of that pain together, it makes it just a little bit easier to bear. So this morning, I invite you to come forward and drop stones in the water. And you can, for your joy or your sorrow. And if you would like to just speak something aloud, you are welcome to do so. Let's start with a moment of music.
This stone is for my twin brother Ray, who passed away 2 days ago. And this one is for all of us that are left that loved him.
Last week, when we had that terrible wind and rain, I was going to bed, and it's blowing outside my window, and I snuggled down into my flannel sheets and comforter and felt so thankful because I remembered the people that were in the tents on the side of the sidewalk that I passed earlier in the day.
This is for healing for our friend Quincy.
Every week I have the same stone of joy, which is my sons both have very dangerous jobs, and this week, and I always drop the stone thanking them for another week of safety, but with the mess in Iran, things could get a little worse.
The passing of the cloud of sickness and a return to health of my grandfather in North Carolina.
Oh, just for being so lucky.
This is for my sister. She had to put her husband in memory care.
I just got rid of all the baby toys at my house because I thought I wasn't going to have any more grandkids. But my 4-year-old grandson called me on Friday and said he's going to have a baby brother, which wasn't quite true. It's a baby sister.
Strokes and family and insurance is hard to deal with.
Sorrow for all the sadness and pain and awfulness in the world, but also joy that I came through a really major surgery and on my feet. A little challenge with Clarabelle here, but I hope we can part company soon. Thanks to everyone who was so specially loving and helpful while I was sick.
I'm just so grateful for new medical hope for both my daughter and me.
My youngest son's Montessori daycare closed yesterday with no notice to the parents. This is for all the parents who have to scramble for tomorrow.
The silver lining of my grandmother having cancer is that this week I get to see my brother for the first time since he got married, and he's my best homie.
And one last stone for all the joys and sorrows that remain in our hearts. An additional stone for all those people in the world who live in fear of bombs and guns. Now is time for meditation, prayer, or reflection, as is your tradition. I'd like us to start this morning with some breathing that is especially helpful when you feel anxious or your nervous system is a little agitated, which might have happened to you once or twice in the last few weeks. So begin by breathing in to the count of 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hold your breath for the count of 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Release your breath to the count of 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Inhale again. Hold your breath. Release your breath. Hold your breath. Breathe in again. And you could repeat as much as you wish while we spend a couple of moments in silence. We will now come out by singing the meditation filled with loving kindness.
May
This reading asks, can you be a good person if you don't read the news? By Leah Finnegan. Since Trump was elected, it's become fashionable to hold up the Holocaust as an extreme example of what can happen when a populace isn't paying attention to the news or asking the right questions of it, leading us to the erroneous conclusion that a mass genocide is possible, resulting of citizen ignorance or intellectual laziness and lack of empathy, instead of things like widespread famine and a government unified in its desire to commit mass murder. Unfortunately, the helplessness we may feel as individual news consumers, subjected to a torrent of terrible news bits, typically expresses itself in an unproductive spiral that is both mentally damaging to the spiraler and to those watching them. In this short life that only lasts an hour, how much, how little is really in our power? Emily Dickinson.
So during the last year and a half, we have lived through one extreme national or international crisis after another. It becomes hard to even remember the last crisis. Remember Gaza? Or the destruction of the federal government, scientific research, and the capitulation of universities? Or the attack on Venezuela? Even Minneapolis seems a little bit like yesterday. So now, of course, we get the war in the Middle East. Then whenever there is a slight break between explosive crises, which usually it's only a slight break, we get to learn more about how wealthy men sexually assaulted teenagers for decades in plain sight. It never stops. Ever. The bad news pounds down like a storm of rocks each and every day. Just yesterday, a few of the headlines on the front page of The Guardian announced Trump calls on China, France, UK, and others to send ships to keep the Strait of Hormuz open. Everything is going up. Americans struggle with affordability despite Trump's claims. Trump administration set to expand migrant family detention center in Louisiana airport. New study raises concerns about AI chatbots fueling delusional thinking. Fetuses likely have more forever chemicals in their blood than thought. And these are just a few of the dreadful headlines I read in less than 5 minutes. How do we even process that? It is my nature to want to curl up in my privileged little bubble, where at least for now I'm pretty safe, and stop listening. Forever stop listening, so that I at least have peace. But then I wonder, is that even moral? Can I be a good person if I just don't know? Is it okay to ignore that some people are hungry or huddled in the pounding rain on Portland streets, or that our government detains thousands with little food, medical care, or sanitation, or that millions live in fear every day as the powerful bomb their homes in order to claim more power? In this morning's reading, Leah Finnegan says, since Trump was elected, it's become fashionable to hold up the Holocaust as an extreme example of what can happen when a populace isn't paying attention to the news or asking the right questions of it. And I have believed that if we don't pay attention and we don't object, something like the Holocaust will happen again. I mean, setting aside that for some people, the conditions are very Holocaust-like already. But my whole life, I was told that the Holocaust happened because the German citizens and the other citizens of Europe didn't pay attention and turned away. Now, I have come to learn that it's much more complicated than that. But it was the story I was told. And I decided very young that I didn't want to be that person, that I would know what was happening, that I would look at it straight on, and I would disapprove. The people who really grapple with such questions, the ethicists, the philosophers, and the theologians, according to the reading I did in the sources like Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy, do say that we cannot look away and be good people. And I get their conclusion. If we choose to not notice suffering around us, doesn't that pretty much make us like Scrooge in the Christmas Carol? Clearly, though. However, the ethicists and others that are covered in the Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy did not live when the internet existed, because none of us are even capable of noticing all the injustice and suffering that it is possible to discover on the internet. It's just not possible. We cannot do it. So then, what is enough? And also there's the question, is it wise to stop knowing what is happening? Control through fear and violence brushes ever closer. I was in a march when ICE released thick, gray doses of tear gas. One of my daughter-in-laws is a Colombian immigrant. ICE dragged the mother of one of my daughter's classmates through the window that they had just smashed in her car. She has been in Tacoma for 2 months, leaving behind 2 teenagers and a husband who had just had a stroke weeks before. I have colleagues serving in red states where it is difficult and dangerous to be publicly asserting UU values. If we need news to be safe, which news is the right news? And what is enough? For months, as one unimaginable crisis after another strikes, anxiety has been rising in my belly like a kinetic ball of energy. And often I can shake the worst off, but even then, some clings always there like a nearly inaudible buzz. And perhaps you have felt something similar. Anxiety, even the nearly inaudible kind, is uncomfortable at best. But when it flares into fear, we can't think straight. When it explodes as anger or intensifies our need to control, we can hurt relationships. When we flee from it, we can flatten into apathy. So here we are. The bad news isn't going to stop coming anytime soon. And as Unitarian Universalists, we want to be responsible, active citizens. And to be an active, responsible citizen, we must see the suffering and know what has caused it, and know how to help it be alleviated. We must begin, though, I think, with the wisdom of Emily Dickinson, who writes, "In this short life that lasts only an hour, how much, how little is within our power." As we begin to grapple with how much is enough news, we must recognize both how much and how little power we have. Finnegas asked to remember that things like mass genocide are not the result of citizen ignorance, intellectual laziness, and lack of empathy, but instead on a government unified in its desire to commit, she says, mass murder, or it could be any awful thing. Our lack of attention did not cause the rise of the radical religious right. Their focused organizing over decades did. Our attention to all the details of the destruction of our Constitution, as well as to government greed and cruelty, will not make everything better. That is how little power we have. But we also have much power. And we find it in the balance between the amount that crushes us so we either bellow in rage or disappear into nothingness. We can find the amount that allows us to take a deep breath and be kind and helpful in the ongoing challenges we face. So how do we find that balance? Fortunately, there are many people thinking about this right now. And in this particular moment, and here is their basic advice: be very intentional about when and how we get our news. Don't let it randomly fall into our consciousness when we only intended to look at pictures from Aunt Susan's vacation. Set time limits. A lot of people think 30 minutes is plenty. So don't spend hours doom scrolling. Choose trusted sources. And choose, they say, 1 or 2 issues that you learn deeply about so that you understand the nuance and context instead of learning just a little bit about many things. And this can get us beyond that scare and awe strategy that most news sources and social media use to keep us trapped. And then their final piece of advice is focus mostly on local news. Local news happens here, right near us. And we can influence what is happening here in ways we cannot influence what is happening in Gaza. I mean, there's things to do about that continuing genocide. We can put pressure on Congress, we can educate, and there's many economic boycotts working on that. But still, the point is that we can help create local communities in the way that we feel it is best for people to live together that we cannot in the Middle East or in Texas. This is where we have the most power. For example, ICE detentions have hit Gresham harder than most local communities. Their city council dismissed the idea of declaring a state of emergency, which would open more resources to support families. Then some organizers asked the Hispanic people who were hiding in that community to write their stories. These were read to the council, and hundreds of others showed up to support the declaration of a state of emergency, and the city council changed their minds. In another example, Oregon communities are demanding their cities and towns stop using flock, a surveillance system that law enforcement uses to record license plates and their locations to help with criminal investigations. The information is automatically sent to a database which is accessible to federal agencies and is used by ICE. In Eugene's, citizens organized and ended their city's flock contract. Local news helps us understand issues that we can respond to in meaningful ways. We have agency to change the things that matter to us, and that reduces our anxiety. But managing our anxiety about the world isn't only about finding the right balance of news. As Adrienne Marie Brown reminds us, put your attention on suffering, which is constant and everywhere, and it is all you will see. Joy will come and laughter, but you will find it brief and possibly a distraction. Put your attention on joy, being connected and feeling whole, and you will find it everywhere. Your heart will still break. You will know grief, but you will find it a reasonable cost for the random abundance of miracles and the soft, wild rhythms of love. There are so many ways to focus on joy, on miracles, on feeling whole. The bad news will keep coming, and we need to pay attention to news that we can respond to. But we can also pay attention to the holy and the wondrous, so we feel calmer and more present to the beauty of life. We can be among the trees, as the choristers reminded us. feeling their stillness, letting our fear come out, and then be held by the life that we belong to until the fear fades. We can breathe intentionally, letting the air, another gift of this life, open and expand our clenched chests, moving that anxiety out of our bellies. We can remember our ancestors. They dealt with the horrors inflicted by the powerful on others. Times like this in human history rise and they fall. They rise and they fall. People respond. They survive. We know how to do this. Our ancestors did, and here we are to prove it. We can practice loving kindness, a friendliness to ourselves and others as a way to remember that we can love, and it matters. We can enjoy each other, doing fun and life-giving things with people we love. And we can remember, as the girl in this morning's story did, the bad news is still there, but then again, so are we. Let us be a house of peace. Let us sing.
This one might feel a little unfamiliar. We haven't done it a lot in the congregation. The choir has been practicing, and yeah, enjoy the ride and just jump in as you can. All right, let this be a house of peace.
This
Let us go into our lives being houses of peace, open to the beauty of life and responding to its suffering. Let us sing our closing hymn, the front may face the back and the back the front, and let us sing Carry the